Welcome to this member requested tutorial. In today's tutorial, we're going to be creating this plasma text cutout effect within Fusion. So let's go ahead and roll this intro and let's get into it.
This is a member requested tutorial. This is a member requested tutorial.
So here we are in Fusion, and this tutorial was requested by at Storm's Happy Hour. And what they wanted was they wanted to create a plasma torch type cutout of text. So in the email, they requested a highly realistic effect. The problem is within Fusion, your realism is going to be limited on what you input into it. So your particle systems that you use aren't going to be super realistic within Fusion. They're going to be good and they're going to look decent and you're going to be able to create a lot of good stuff with it. But highly realistic is kind of pushing it within Fusion. But if you were to use another program like Houdini or Blender, you would probably get more realistic results with this from both creating anything you're creating in here or your particle systems are all going to look a little more realistic, and your physics are going to operate a little better than they do in Fusion. But Fusion does a pretty good job. As you can see, we're still getting a cool little torch effect, cutting out this letter A. So we're going to jump into it and I'm going to show you how to create this. And I've got the little node tree down here. You can see exactly what nodes are going into it. Well, you can't really see because it's zoomed out and small, but you can see it's not tons of stuff going into it. So it's not super difficult. So I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'm not going to decompose this completely because I'm going to use this particle system again instead of spending another 40 minutes recreating this. So I'll try to keep this video as short as possible with as much information as possible. So basically, our member sent us our image. So what they wanted basically was a cutout on this image of this plasma torch moving. And I'm assuming they probably want this little torch thing moving with it, but I didn't create this in 3D or anything. So you would have to create this in a 3D environment or however you're going to create it, whether you use a picture and use it as one of your medias to actually have this torch thing moving around cutting this metal. Now, honestly, if it was me and if I wanted something realistic, I would honestly just shoot this with a camera and have them really do it. And I would probably shoot it about 120 frames per second at least. That way you can get slow-mo stuff and get all that detail of the sparks flying. But if you wanted to create this with a 3D graphics or 2D graphics, you can. And we went 2D with this version. So anyway, I had this photo right here. This was our background. So basically what we need to do in our little project here is we need to take this real image. We need to have a font. We need that font to have effects of our little particles as it cuts through. And then we need to reveal that cutout of our text. So this first part right here, this is our actual background. So all this is just our background. And all I did is I took this original image, which was 1376 by 768, and I cropped it down to a manageable flat surface. But you notice this is still here, so you'd probably want to get rid of this little bit so you're not seeing this reflection in it. So I cropped it down and then I resized it to the size of our project, which is 3840 by 2160. So now this is a 4K project. Then we need our letters. So I used this text right here, and the text itself is just a stencil style text because I'm assuming you want a stencil style, because if you're cutting out with a laser or a torch, it's probably going to use stencil style so your little middles of your letters stay there and you're good to go. And then we need something for the background once it's cut out, and I just found this little stock image of like a metal grate in the background. If you really wanted to, you could take a photo of your actual grate that's in your background so you could use that as a background. But I used this image and then I transformed it down so it was smaller, just so it was around our little letter there, and I added a little color correction. Additionally, on our little metal background here, I added some color correction as well. So it wasn't so bright, I just darkened it up a little bit. So those two are merged together in our little merge here. So we've got those two. And as far as our text, I'll disconnect that. So it just looks like that. So as far as our text, like I said, I just did this. I made an A. So whatever letters or whatever word you're printing out, just use a stencil text and make sure it is white. Now to get this outline on your text, all you have to do is go to your shading tab and select outline over here. And then you just change your thickness of however thick you want your outlines to be. So select your outline, change your thickness, make sure it's white, and that's all you need for text. And then that gets plugged into your merge right here into your effects mask. So if I disconnect that, go to my merge, plug in my effects mask. Now it's just masking out that A. So this is kind of our final result of what we're going to get. So that is all of that right there. Now, one of the most important parts of creating this effect is having something to track your outline. Now, unfortunately, on your text itself, we can't create like individual paths for stuff to follow on our little text node here. So we're going to have to create paths using this A as our little outline. And that's where these come in right here. And all these are as polygons, polygon A, polygon A2. And the way you have to break this up is you need to break up your letters accordingly, because we need to create paths that we can follow for each individual one. So I have A1, which is this side, and I have A2, which is this side. So if you have a long word, you're going to have to do this for every single one. And that's why I split this up. So I would technically name this one A letter. And if you had another letter, like B, if you're doing ABBA, you would have a B, and then another B, and then another A, all split up individually. Hope that makes sense. So I'm going to show you how to do this. It's very, very simple, because what we need to do is we need to take these paths that we create with our polygons, and we actually need to create a shape that is following that path, which is right here. And I'll get to this here in a second. So first, let's go ahead and create our little polygon pass real quick. And to do that, I just like to have this up so I have something to follow. So I'm going to go over here and grab our little polygon node. And on this polygon, I'm just going to trace our little font here with our polygon. And there we go. And to be able to manipulate this a little better, I'm going to shut off our little handles there. So I'm not seeing handles. I'm only showing our corners because I want this straight. It does show you up here, so I'm not messing anything up. Instead of my add, I just want to make sure I have this little modify only selected. If I needed to add another one, I could select this add, but I want modify only, so I can go through here and straighten any of this stuff up and get it nice and straight however I want it. So there we go. We've got our first poly line right there, our little polygon. And we need to make another one for this part of the letter. So we're going to grab another polygon, and I'm going to go up here and select this. And there we go. We've got our little shape of our letter. And it looks great. So we have our two shapes for our letters right there. 1 and 2, or A1 and A2. So, and that's how I like to name these. So I'm going to name this, I'm going to hit F2 and name this A1, hit F2 and name this A2. So now I know I have these two letters, A1 and A2. There's a third little bit for a different letter. It would be A3 or whatever letter it is. And to make my little underlay, I'm just going to highlight these, hit Shift Space, type in underlay. And there we go. We've got an underlay. And I can recolor this if I want, set color to whatever color I want. And you can also rename it by hitting the F2, rename that underlay so it all makes sense. Now, what we need to do with this is we need to create something to follow those paths we just created. So before we go any further, the first thing we want to do is we want to publish this information. So I'm going to select A1. I'm going to go to this little right click here for shape animation. I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to right click and then I'm going to select publish. Same with my A2. I'm going to uncheck this little shape animation and then right click and select publish. So now we have those two little polylines published for use anywhere else. And that's why they're not connected, because we don't need to connect these to anything to be able to use that data. Now these paths right here, what these paths are is they're pretty simple. If I look, it's just a little background. I made a background with an ellipse in it to kind of create a little circle, give us something to follow. And what these little ellipses are going to do is we're going to use these as emitters on our particle system. But I need these emitters to follow the line of our little path we've created. And to be able to do that, let me go ahead and get rid of those. And we'll recreate this. First, I'm going to grab a background. So now I've got a background. I want my background to be white because we need it white so we can use that alpha information. And I'm going to grab an ellipse and I'm going to connect it to my background. And then we can resize this ellipse to whatever size you want so we can make a little circle. So we've got a little circle. Now to be able to connect this to our A1 path, what we need to do is we need to create a modifier. So on our ellipse itself right here, I can right click this little center and I'm going to select path. Now as soon as I select path, I'm going to get a modifier over here. So select path, you notice now we have a modifier up there. And you want to make sure you're on your first frame, because if you notice I just made a keyframe right there. So I can go here and I'm just going to double click this to clear that back out. Notice my modifier just disappeared. I'm going to make sure I'm on the first frame, right click, and then select path, because that just created a little keyframe over here. Now if I go up to my modifiers up here, I now have this path modifier. And right down here, to be able to connect it to our little A1, all I have to do is right click, connect to, I can find A1, which is right here. And I know it might be off screen, but it'll say value. So I want to connect it to my value of A1. And now you notice we have this A1 polyline right here, and we have our path 3. And if I redouble click this path 3, now I have this displacement. So as I move this displacement, if I get rid of that keyframe, as I move this displacement, you notice we can move our new little shape around the path of that A1. So what we need to do is we need to keyframe this. So this is going to be the hardest part of your project. So if you have a long word, you're going to have to get your timing in the time of the Fusion project correct. Meaning, if I know I want this to, the torch to burn each part of the letter for 1 second, I have to time out my entire thing for each part. So we know this A1 has 2 parts. So that's 1 second, 2 seconds. And then if you have more, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds. So that's how you would time that out. So back to our little ellipse, we're going to say we want to start our little thing at 0. So I can go back to our modifiers, and on this displacement, I'm going to create a keyframe, and I'm going to go to, let's say frame like maybe 48. So it's like 1.5 seconds. And then I'm going to change my displacement up. So now I've got a keyframe. So if I back it up, you can see it's going to take that long to get around. So we've got our first little A path. So I can take this and I'm just going to group this. So Control G, and if I hit F2, I can rename this to A1. I'm not going to name it path A1 because I already have a path A1, but that is our, whoops. And that's right, I can't name it A1 because something else is already named A1. So I'm going to hit F2 and name it group A1. So GA1, there we go. And technically, I could just copy this to create my second one. So I can just hold this, Control C, Control V, and I've got my next one. And I'm going to rename this to Control F2 to GA2, but I need to change my little ellipse here. So if I go to my ellipse and go here and go to my center, clear this out, I just got rid of that modifier. So now I can go to this ellipse, right click, path, go up to my modifier. If I go down here, right click, connect to A2 polyline value, go to my path, uncheck my little displacement thing. Now I can control that polyline over here. There, now we can see it. I can go to my modifier and control the location of that dot on that one. And then what I need to do is I need to animate this accordingly, meaning our first one lasted to, what was it, 48, I believe, 48, yep. So I'm gonna skip 1 second and go to this one and create a keyframe here and go to like 97, 98-ish. So it's about the same time frame. Change my displacement up. So there I go. And if I just grab a merge so you can see what these two are doing, I can merge them together. If we look at our merge, go back and push play, we've got 1 and then 2. And obviously see we've got an issue because we've got one sitting there and another one sitting over there, but that's not a problem because we'll change that on our emitter. So that's what we'll be doing there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this and close these up. So basically where we're sitting right now is what we just created here is what I created up here. It's just the same thing. So I'm going to delete this one. And then what we just created here with this GA1 and this GA2 are essentially our path A1 and path A2, exactly what I created earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these as well. So we should be sitting with our little letter broken out, our two paths, and then our background and our foreground and our text all connected together. So that's where we're at right now. So let me go ahead and just disconnect these so we can kind of see what's happening. So this is where you should be. So you should have all your background and foreground stuff, and then you should have a little pass with your path animation going on. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create our little particle effect for our letters. And like I said, I'm not going to break this down individually. I'm just going to walk through what I did. That way we're not adding another hour onto this video. But our particle systems are pretty easy, and if you've been following along with our little learning fusion episodes, our last episode was actually 2D particles, and in this one I'm using 2D particles. So you should be quite familiar with all this. So the first thing we need to do is we need to bring in a P emitter. And our P emitter is right here, or you can hit shift space and bring in a P emitter. So that's our P emitter. And then to be able to see our particles, what we need is a renderer. So I can just drag this renderer on over. And that's our renderer right there. So I'm going to disconnect all this stuff. So now you've got your little P render and your emitter showing up. Now we want to be able to see all this stuff happening. So I'm going to disconnect this and kind of ignore what's going on here. And I'm going to connect my little merge from my images into a new merge. And then from my renderer, my P renderer, into the other merge. So now we can see what's going on with our little renderer. So I'll be watching this merge right here so I can see our background and I can see our emitter following around our little fonts there. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to tell this emitter to use our little path to be able to emit stuff or emit particles from that path that's moving around. And to be able to do that, if I go to my P emitter and go up to region, and select bitmap, I can drag and drop that last little bitmap in here. Or once I select bitmap, I'm going to get this input on my P emitter, and I'm going to just take path A1 and connect it into my P emitter. So now it's emitting particles. But if I push play, you're really not going to see anything because our particles are so tiny and we can't see them because we don't want to see these particles that are being emitted. But so you can see what's happening, I'm going to go to my style. And I'm going to select blob just so you can see those particles. So if I push play, Now you notice our little particles are following around our little path we created. There we go. So that is A1. And to be able to get them to appear and reappear, we're going to change that animation within our P emitter. So I'm going to go to controls right here. And if you look at our settings, this is all I have, is I have our P emitter creating 20 particles per frame. I've got our number variance to 0. Each particle is lasting for 2 frames. Our lifespan variance is 0, and everything else is zeroed out. There's no velocity, there's no anything. So these are the only settings I changed. And this is where we animate when the particles start and stop. So if you notice right here, we've got 2 little animations. So as I play, we're at 20 particles. So when I got to my last frame that I want to create particles, I keyframed it at 20, and then I went to my next frame and I turned it to 0. So now I just keyframed our particles to change to 0. So now if I keep playing, we're not emitting any more particles. So in essence, this is just shutting your particle system off by animating to 0. So there we go. 20 particles, 0 particles. And that's how that works. And then we need a particle system for this bit of the letter. So I can just take this emitter, I can hit Control C, Control V, and paste another emitter. Now to be able to see both of these emitters, I need to make sure I'm using a P merge. So you can hit Shift Space, bring in a P merge, which is right here. So if I plug in this P merge, I can plug my second emitter in, and now I've got 2 emitters. And then on my second emitter, which is for this one right here, if I go to my emitter and I go to my region, it's still set up as bitmap, but we need to reconnect to a different path, and that's going to be A2. So A2 is going to plug into that second emitter. So now if I play, it's going to be wrong because we're not going to be able to see that second emitter. So what we need to do is on our particle emitter, our second one, we need to go to our controls and change our animation. So for this one, where we were at 20, on our second one, we want to animate it and make it 0. So from 0 all the way to this location, we're making no particles over here. And on the next frame where we went down to 0 on this side of our little letter, which is right here, we want to go to this particle emitter and we want to change that to 20. So now we're going to start creating 20 frames. Now, or 20 particles, sorry, for 2 frames. Now to be able to see this, I'm just going to go to my style and again, change this to blob so you can see what's happening. So there we go. Now we're creating particles over here that are going around that way and shutting off at a certain point. So if you notice all the way down here, I've got an animation going from 20 and then to 0. And technically right here, you would want to probably shut this off earlier or move this over one so you don't have 2 little things going. That was my bad. So you probably want to go 1 more frame and then start this. So your little torch kind of skips from one letter to another instead of having 2 letters going on. So you can adjust your animation to be a little more realistic and a little better than what I did. But that's how you create your particle system. So now if I go back to 0 and I push play, we've got this particle system following there, and then that one following this bit of the letter. And if you had more letters or more words, all you'd have to do is keep copying and paste these emitters so you have an emitter for each individual path. And then just use P merges to keep merging those new emitters in. Now I'm going to go back to our emitters and shut this blob off and change it back to points because, or not point cluster, to point, because we don't want to see these little particles. We want to see other particles that are creating our little effect we did, and I'll get to that here in a second. So on P emitter 1, back to point, P emitter 2, back to my style, and I'm changing that to point as well. And then we've got both of them merged together. So now we need to create our effect. And what we want to do is we want to create particles with our particles. So on our P emitter, we are creating 20 particles that last 2 frames, and we want a lot more particles that we can see to create that little plasma and our little spark effects. And we do that using the P spawn. So if you hit shift space and search for P spawn, we will get this P spawn node, which you want to put after that merge. And what your P spawn node is going to do is going to use, like I said, each one of those particles. So if I push play, now we're spawning new particles based off of our 20 original particles that's following along this little line here. And this is a very confusing node. I'm not going to go through every single setting, but I'm just going to show you how I set this up to get the this look that I did. So on our P spawn node, if we go to our controls right here, under our spawn, I'm spawning 800 particles, and this will be up to your look. You could do less, you can do more. So however you want this look to look is how many particles you want to spawn. And I went with 800. On my number variance, I varianced it up by 100. So every single frame, it's going to be more or less around 100 of our original 800. For our lifespan, I just did 75 frames and a lifespan variance of 40. And then for our temporal distribution, I just selected randomly distributed. Now under our velocity, I've got our velocity transfer set to 0, and I actually animated this velocity right here, and I animated it using the shake modifier. So if we look up here, you can see shake on P spawn velocity. If I double click it, these are my settings, but I'll show you how to create that modifier. So anytime you want to create a shake modifier, it's very simple. Like say I wanted to create one on this velocity variance. All I have to do is right click, modify with, and I could go down and I select shake. So as soon as I select shake and I go to my modifiers tab, now I have a shake on spawn velocity variance. If I double click that to make sure I'm selected on that, I can change my max and my minimum. I can change my smoothness, and that will all shake my velocity variance or randomize my velocity variance. But I don't want that, so I'm going to double click this to clear that out. So now if you notice, that modifier is no longer there, but that's how I created this shake variance on this velocity. So if we go to that, I've just got it set to 10, minimum velocity of 1, maximum velocity of 2. So every single frame, for every single particle, our velocities are going to alter between 1 and 2. And you can see that if I go here, push play, you can see it's altering and moving between 1 and 2. Now under our angle, I left at 0, but I changed the angle variance to 360, so it's a big giant circle. And I changed our Z variance to 360. And let me go ahead and fit this in so we can see that entire image. And rotation and spin are all zeroed out to their default. Now under sets, I didn't have any sets created. I could if I wanted to, but I didn't need any sets created. For our style right here, I selected line, and I had a 1 of the fade to fade those lines out. Under a color, you want to make sure you leave as white, because we're going to use other things to color our little particles there. And if you change this color to a color, it's going to alter how these colors look. So if you just leave it at white, any color variance or color over life we do will be those colors we dictate. So how I did that is if we go to color variance, I changed our color variances up just a little bit. So our red variance I changed to minus 0.4 and 0.4. For our green, minus 0.25, 0.25. For our blue, minus 0.5 and 0.5. And our alpha variance is just zeroed out. And this is up to you. So you can change this variance depending on what you're creating and the look you want to get. Under a color over life, this is where we're actually getting the color we're seeing right in here. So I just added four little points for our life. And this is basically from birth on this side to death of our particle on this side. So when we start out, we got this blue color. So you notice it's a little more bluish in the center. And then right after, it starts turning this yellow. And then midlife, it's a bright orange. And towards the end of its life, it's kind of a dead, dull orange. So that's why it looks that way. So you can change this to whatever color you want. It's up to you to get the look you're looking for. In under size controls, I've just got it set to 0.5. And our size to velocity, I set to 0.35. And under our fade controls, I've just got an in of 0.425 and an out of 0.62221. So again, this is up to you too when you want those to fade in and fade out. Under our conditions, I just got it starting at 1, ending at 1 with a probability 100%. And for our region, it's ignore our region, and our region is everything. So that means our particles will show up everywhere, all over the screen, and fill the entire screen. So that is it for the spawn settings, and that's how you get this look. So if I push play, that's what your particles should look like, spawning off of our original particles that we created. Now, it may look a little different because on our render node itself, if we go to our render node, I added some blur. So I added a blur of 1 and a glow of 0.4. And again, this is all to taste if you want. So you can adjust this accordingly. And then down here, I just made sure I click this kill particles that leave the view. So any particles that leave our actual view or our little ROI here, it's going to kill those particles instead of calculating anything that went off. So it's only calculating what it sees in the screen. And that'll just be a little lighter on your computer. So back to our spawn, this is where we're at. Now we want to add a little tiny bit of movement in this, not tons, but just a little movement so it's not so stagnant. And that's where this P turbulence comes in. And to get a P turbulence, you can hit shift space and type in P turbulence. And once you have your P turbulence, we can just stick it in behind our spawn node. So to put this in and out, I'm holding my shift key and I can disconnect it. If I hold my shift key again, I can highlight it over that line. So that's our P turbulence. And all our P turbulence is doing is it's kind of adding, as it gets further away from the center here, it's adding a little turbulence to our little sparks around here so they're not just so straight and stagnant. And on that, all I did is I just did our strength to 0.1, our Y and our Z strength all to 0.1. Our strength over life is just zeroed out, and our density to 10. Under conditions, this is where I changed the age. So this is actually what's making it wait until towards the end to start moving around a little bit. I changed the age to 0.8 is where it's going to start, and it's going to end at 1. So instead of starting immediately, it starts towards the end of our particle's life. And then for our region, it's ignore and all. So it's working on our entire screen. Now the next thing we want to do, and I'll push play so you can kind of see what's happening there. So that's if you notice these are kind of now jittering around a teeny tiny bit, and that's from our little P turbulence. The next thing we want to do is we want to slow some of these sparks up. So as they hit like our metal to slow down a little bit, and that's where this P friction comes in. So you can hit shift space and type in P friction, add your node, and again, just holding shift, I'm going to stick that in behind our P turbulence. So now we got a P friction. And if I push play, this is what's slowing some of these larger particles towards the end. It's slowing them up to make them kind of look like they're skidding along a little bit. And for these settings, pretty simple, just velocity friction of 0.05, a spin friction of 0.05. My conditions I changed so it doesn't do it immediately. It's not going to start doing it until it gets out here a little bit with our age. So our age start is 0.13 and end is 0.1 or 1. And again, this is up to your look. If you want it to wait to way out here, you just make it older. So your particles are older and they'll start out here a little further. And then again, for our region, it is set to ignore region and region all. And that is our particle system. So remember, our render is now plugged into a merge after all of our stuff. So now we should have this. So there we go. We've got our little torch with our sparks following our letters there. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to hide this and have it slowly revealed. Now, unfortunately, we can't use these any longer for anything because our particle system is dragging. So, for example, if I grab a merge, and I'm going to just take this path A so we can see our little dot. If I look at this, now we can see our little dot that's going around our letter. But if you notice, when I push play, our particle system is lagging behind this. And that's just because our particle system has to do all this calculation before it spits out. Timing wise, it's correct. It's just lagging behind our little path. So if I push play, you can see, if I back this up to where that is, if you notice, our dot is ahead of our little torch. And that's just because our particle system takes some time to happen. So we technically can't use this to drive something to reveal or hide something on our line because it's not correct. We want to make sure it's within our little torch area. So I'm going to disconnect that, and that's gone. So what we're going to have to actually do is create polygons to hide that. And that's what all this is right here. So what you want to do is you want to bring in a merge. So we want to merge this with something else. And if you notice, I've got this color coming out, this little extra line coming out. So I want to plug this into my foreground. So now you notice we just hid our little letters there. So basically, we want to hide our foreground and reveal it as necessary. But to be able to do that, we need to create polygons. So let me move these off. So all we really have to do, if I zoom in here, is we need to create little polygons. So, oops, let me bring in a polygon. And if I create a polygon here, and plug it into our little effects mask, and then plug this back into our foreground. Notice we're hiding, so we can take this and we can animate it to reveal our little thing following our little torch there. And it would actually be opposite, so I would invert it so it's revealing with our torch. So it would follow our torch, but we need to animate this for all of our letters. And this is one of the most time-consuming things to do when you're doing effects, is trying to do stuff like this. So I'm not going to recreate this entire polygon. So let's delete that. So if we look, this is my first one. So if I just plug that in and we look here, you can see I've got this following that. And that's all it is. That quick animation of that, just covering up that letter. And then I had a second one doing the other side of the letters. So if I push play, there we go, doing the other side of the letters. Just quick animation to reveal that. Now, when you're putting your two polygons together, this gets confusing sometimes, and I know you can connect these straight and use your little paint part to say whether you want to add it or not, but I'm telling you, it's going to get finicky and it's not going to work correctly half the time. That's why I use a matte control to add my two polylines together, or my two polygons together. And all I do is bring in a matte control, which is this one right here. So you can just bring in a matte control or hit shift space and bring in a matte control, plug one into the background, one into your little foreground. So now you've got your two mattes. And on your matte control, you just want to make sure you're selecting this combine alpha and add. So now if I plug those into our little thing, there we go. We've got both of those animated, connected together on one little matte control. And of course, on your matte control, make sure you select this invert matte, because by default, it's not going to be inverted, so it's all going to be backwards. So select invert matte, and now it'll reveal what it needs to reveal correctly. So if I highlight these two, push play, you can see I've got my little polygons animated highlighting. So that needs to be plugged in, and then this needs to be plugged in right before your render. So you're merging your render and that merge together. So now you've got this. And if I push play, now you've got our particles on top of this being revealed with our little polylines here. So the same thing goes for adding anything on top. So meaning if you were creating like a 3D little like torch arm or laser printer arm or something to follow along, it's not going to follow along with your little paths. So for example, I could just real quick, if I grab this, because you would assume if you created a little rectangle or you had this awesome graphic here of this amazing print head. See how awesome that print head is. There we go. We've got our little print head going. If I connect that in so I could see it, now we've got our print head, but I want that print head to follow along those letters or follow along our little torch, which you would think I can use path A1 to do that. I could technically just go to my little rectangle right here, go to my center, right click, connect to path 1 position. So now it's going to connect to that position. And if I push play, sure, it's connected, but it's not following our laser correctly, if you see that. Because remember, our path is ahead of our little particles there. So it's not going to look correct. So anything you add on top of those particles to follow along that for your little effect that you're doing, like your little print head or anything you've got, just make sure you hand animate that as well, because it's not going to match up to that original path we created to create our little emitters there. So if I back that up, you can see it's kind of ahead of itself and it's not going to look right. You're going to have to animate it by hand to make it look right, which is easy. We taught that. You guys know how to do that. So let's go ahead and delete that and let's push play to see our final version there. So there we go. Just remember, background, foreground with our text all goes in. We have to create these little paths with our text, and with those paths we created, that's what we're using to create this animation following those paths for a little emitters right here that we've got grouped with our ellipse in our background. And that's what's driving our emitters to get that little white mask going around to create those particles that are then being spawned into new particles, which is actually giving us our look. And then we added some turbulence, some friction, brought it in, and to be able to reveal, remember we had to hand animate some polygons here, bring it into a matte control, and put these two together so it reveals our letters. And remember, if you would like a tutorial requested, you can jump up there and join and become a member, and members are allowed to request tutorials. So I will see you guys in the next Learning Fusion episode, or the next tutorial, or the next node breakdown, or the next video I create.